here again on at 9 or is it 8 p.m. I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting the time. So, welcome, guys. And our topic today will be Apple, although it's not limited to Apple. And I see a lot of questions about Pegasus and Freedom Phones and all that, and we'll get into that too later on. But anyway, just for housekeeping, again, the format is I talk for 30 minutes or so about the current topic, and then you can do your Q&A in the last hour. So this video, this live stream is sponsored by Linode, in case you're wondering. So we'll get into Linode later on, but this broadcast is sponsored by Linode. So anyway, the topic tonight is about this strategy that they're using, and I think it's a bit of a trick. So it's like somebody planned this out. Somebody planned this out. They said, how do we break encryption? How do we convince people that it's okay to have backdoors? And of course, you go with the biggest fear, and they're gonna say, oh yeah, pedophiles. Okay, let's use that as an excuse. So since we have to watch it for pedophiles, we got to go, pretty much surveil everything that goes on every phone and every computer, and forget encryption. We'll come up with some excuse that says no more encryption, and we'll go inspect all these devices, and it'll be in the interest of protecting kids. So that's the new logic now. Unfortunately, it's a pretty sick logic, guys. It's a pretty sick logic because they don't need to limit it, and they don't have to limit it to any particular topic. In this case, they're saying it's pedophiles, but it can be used for anything. They can say, okay, we want to identify violent right-wing extremists because they're the anti-vax people. So we'll go search their phones for any memes, anti-vax memes that will identify them, and so on. And yeah, we'll as you know, even Biden said they want to intercept SMS messages. Yeah, they want to go check that out and see if you're spreading bad stuff about vaccine. If you're an anti-vax person. So they basically, yeah, this is just the beginning of it, and I'm telling you right now, this is the beginning of it. And the problem is that some of you are so beholden to Apple that you're not even thinking. I mean, somebody made. Let me just start with this comment here. Somebody actually made a comment on the video on trying to trying to remember which video it was. Was it an iPhone video? Anyway, I was talking about, I think it was about the Google phones. Yeah, the Google phone video, and somebody made a statement there that it's like I'm bashing people who are using Apple, and and my solution doesn't work because there are reasons why the average person wants to use Apple. The main reason this guy says the main reason that he's got to use Apple is because of AirDrop. AirDrop. That's the biggest reason he has to use Apple. AirDrop. I mean, I carry a Google phone. I don't need anything special. I have a Pixel 4 here, and it has a USB-C. I plug that in. I plug into my computer. I see all the files. I can take all my photos files anytime I want. I don't need any zucking AirDrop, and that works even on a Mac. Works on a Mac. Oh yeah, I guess your life is so dependent on AirDrop, you cannot stop using Apple. You're just so tied up with their statement that iPhone is privacy. That's what this guy said. Apple does not sell your data, therefore they must be good compared to Google that sells your data. Well, at least Google's being upfront. I'm not defending Google, but at least Google's being upfront. Yeah, that's their business. They want to sell your data. But Apple has your data. Apple has your data and they want to rule the world. And this is an example of this. They said, well, we want to stop pedophiles. So we're going to examine your phones. And they didn't tell you this, but they already announced this was how many years ago now? I think when iPhone 10 was released, they actually said that they were going to do facial recognition of iCloud photos. Facial recognition of iCloud photos. They already said that. They already said that. And people are saying, no, no, iPhone is privacy. Oh, no, no. Oh, yeah, so yeah, they locked the phone up, but they didn't tell you that they open up iCloud. So yeah, your phone is locked up, supposedly. What a show. So your phone is theoretically locked up, but they can read your iMessages and they can read your MMS files and whatever you send through SMS. And then on top of that, they can read what's in iCloud. There's nothing encrypted about iCloud. iCloud is not encrypted. So you guys you're coming to me and saying you're really bad, Rob. You're really bad because you're like you accusing the glorious Apple, from being anti-privacy, and they are privacy. They are. We believe them because that's the marketing, and you guys believe that. And here you are, you're getting proof now. You're getting proof now, and you're like, you're still going to ignore me. You're getting proof now. So what is this new strategy now? And I'll tell you how you can misuse this very, very easily. Facebook already did this. The strategy is, they said, well, we can't examine your photos directly because to do that would require cloud processing of photos, which they can do on iCloud itself. So they can do that. They can do that. So they can that's what they're doing facial recognition on. They're putting it on iCloud. But what they want to do is use a mechanical way, the automated way of identifying certain photos to see if you have these kinds of photos in your possession. And they can do it with very little data in a very simple way, simply by doing something called a hash. Now, what is a hash? What is a hash? A hash is a signature. It's a mathematical formula. If you take any file, and you pass it through a hash computer or hash computation, it will come up with a string of numbers that will be unique to that file. Okay? So, in fact, you can do it to any piece of data. They use it in passwords. They use it for Bitcoin. It's just a mathematical equation that says you can take any piece of data, like your name, and you can hash that. And the only way you can match that hash is if the data is identical. So let's say you take the name Rob Braxman and you said, okay, I'm going to hash Rob Braxman. You come up with a string of digits. All I have to do is present the hash against another hash and compare. If the two hashes match, therefore the text was Rob Braxman. Same with photos. If you hash a photo and it's exactly the same file, and you take another hash, and if they match, then they must be the same photo. This is, often used if you download stuff from the internet and it's the exact same file, they'll be able to find it with a hash. So if you're like using photos that are copyrighted, this is one way they can find those, simply by saying, okay, we'll take we'll take a photo, take the hash of it, and see if anyone has that. And if it's the same hash, they can do it on websites. So they can easily check websites to see if you're stealing photos. So the same token, they can check your iPhone and say what photos are on there. If they have a way of finding out any file on the internet or on iCloud, it can be on iCloud, and get a hash of it, they can then see who has it. So let's say you pass photos around, by MMS or by, texting or iMessage, and you pass photos around, and they can easily check who has that same photo. Now, is that something that's unique to pedophiles? The problem is, no, it can be used on anything. It doesn't even have to be a photo, for goodness sakes. It can be a file, it could be a message, it could be anything. You're basically turning the phone into a robot, or a bot. That's a proper term, is a bot, that says search for the following files with this hash. So you can search for the existence of any document, any file, any photo, anything on the phone simply with a hash and say search for this hash and then report if you find it. Wow. Think of yourself as a secret agent and you happen to collect certain files on your phone, and they're going to find out who has that file with a hash built into the OS, so they can actually find out what's on your phone, documents, anything. Now this is like the craziest thing to even be thinking about this. And they're just saying, no, we're not going to do that. It's, we're not breaking any back doors, or we're not opening up any back doors or whatever. Yeah, right. First of all, the lies are just on top of lies. There are just so many lies. They already announced they were doing facial recognition on iCloud for people who are related. And the reason is they want to be more social when sharing photos on iMessage. So when somebody has a photo and it features somebody else that knows to be connected to you from your contact list in the photos, and they know from iMessage who's who, and then they can say, oh, you should send that photo. But that's just just all the fun stuff. It doesn't say what you can do with that in surveillance. It's the same thing as Google Photos. Google Photos, of course, does facial recognition. So yeah, many of you use Google Photos. Yes, smart. Really smart. Okay, so what's in the photos? Not just your face. You're not only building up your face on Google Photos or Facebook. Here's another evil, but you're actually showing connections and who you're connected to, who you know, and building what is called the relationship map. One of the most dangerous things in surveillance is the relationship map. Something that is just such a big threat to me. That's one of the reasons that Signal bothers me and Telegram, because of this relationship map. As much as I like to use Signal, because it's functional, the problem is the contact list because of this relationship map. Same with all of this. It's building up databases of all of this where they can easily search for documents, search for anything on the phone simply by a hash. And it's very efficient because you don't even have to search for an actual photo and do facial recognition or object recognition. You can just search for a hash. That's the crazy part. Now, obviously you can screw up the hashing by any slight modification to the file will change the hash. So if you take a file and you save it again, you will likely ruin the hash, because especially if you say take one bit border out, that will change the whole thing. So the hash will fail anyway. But the fact that they even think about doing this is like, wow, what a invasion of privacy to be doing this. What kind of thinking? It's like these people are like, it's like Facebook. Facebook is constantly looking for ways to go, invade our privacy in every way possible. Same with Google. But Apple, my gosh, this is like, let's find some way to control people more. Let's find out what their every thought is. Yes, we're not selling the data, but it doesn't mean we can't manipulate them. Yeah, we're not selling the data. Actually, that's not really true, because advertisers, of course, use the same classification that they can find from Apple phones. And and Apple, of course, it's called the advertising ID, in case you didn't know what that is. So yes, Apple has an advertising ID, and ad companies can collect data on users from the Apple ID. So they have some characteristics that they're building that they're sharing to the outside world from the advertising ID, unless you opt out. So anyway, the point is, Facebook even did this, and they said, okay, we want to know who's stealing photos. We want to know who's stealing photos. So how are we going to do that? No, actually, no, that's not what Facebook was trying to do. They said they wanted to I believe they were trying to spot maybe porn. I'm trying to remember exactly what the logic was. But they said, okay, we're going to hash the photos. Therefore, we can look at any account and find where these same photos exist, because the hash will say the photos match. So another example of how they can spy on you indirectly using these kinds of techniques. So it's really, really bothersome that this happens. And most of you say, well, iPhone has privacy. Apple says so, and you believe that. Uh, you should look at the FBI trying to you know, enter the phone, the terrorist phone, and they were trying to break into the phone, and they couldn't because Apple wouldn't reveal any information about it. But they had access to iCloud. They had access to iCloud. They can go to iCloud of that phone and see what's in there. They didn't have a problem with that. See, it was a marketing ploy. It's marketing because, of course, if they say they can break into your phone, then, of course, that's bad marketing. So they got to say, well, we're different than Google. You can't break into the phone. Actually, they're all the same. Google phones, meaning Android phones, not made by Google, but made by whoever the manufacturers are. So the main security on a Android phone is from Android Open Source Project, which is pretty good security. It's actually very good. It's not foolproof against Pegasus, but it's very good against the normal hacker threats. You do not need any antivirus. You can't. An average person can't break into an Android or iCloud unless you load up some special app like, spy app. So that's what you have to worry about if, a parent or relative or husband or wife puts in a spy app on the phone, then of course they can spy on you. But it's hard to break into the phone by itself. So there's really, as far as I'm concerned, there's not much difference between an Android and iOS as far as security. However, the Pegasus is targeting Apple. So for whatever reason, Apple is the main victim of the Pegasus attack. So anyway, this idea of tracking pedophiles is actually extended. This is not just with photos. Photos is the way Apple wants to do it. And I'm sure that, Facebook will follow and so on, although I doubt if there'll be any what do you call this? Possibility of any pedophile kind of photographs on Facebook because they can scan that before it enters the platform. So the issue is, your private photos, what the private stuff that's on your phone. That's what they're trying to catch. So yes, they're, invasion left and right here. And, as you already know, this is no mystery. If you send your phone in for repair or send a computer for repair to the Nerd Squad at Best Buy, then if they find any content there that is illegal, they will report it to the law enforcement. They do that. So, this is nothing unusual already. It's being done. So, in any case, the thing about this action of doing hashes on photos, which can be extended to hashes on any content, and put it on your phone, then it's basically a side spying device, because you can create a hash of anything, as long as it's the same thing. So if you find anything on the internet, you can hash every single object you find on the internet, every single file, and then you can hash it, and then you can say, who has these? Who has these? Good example is, what websites have you visited? You can go do a hash of a website page and then look at the cache and compare, oh, you visited that website and you looked at this page. Oh, I know exactly which porn page you were at and, who you were looking at. I mean, this is the kind of craziness that we got to deal with here, because this can be abused, people. Any excuse, just like this whole thing about spying on every one of us, the whole logic for this was terrorists. So terrorists have justified this whole change in society where we're going to be spied on 24/7. And the logic is terrorists. And yet that's going to be used to spot dissidents, anyone who doesn't toe the line, who doesn't follow the leader, will be identified, and then you can be disposed of. Okay, so this is the kind of extension you can draw with this, and somebody will say, "Well, that's not a problem in America." I'm not sure about that, but I'm not sure about that. But definitely, it's a problem in any country that's run by a repressive government. Like the Saudi Arabias and so on. I mean, their government determines every thought, and they want to know who's thinking against them. And if you think this is theory, then go look at all those who have been killed, like Khashoggi, for believing something different. So yeah, they care. They care. Then they'll whack you. Yeah, they'll whack you. So yeah, so McAfee was whacked, right? Oh, I believe McAfee was whacked. Why? Why? I don't know the why. I didn't think it was that. It didn't seem like the subject matter, which is tax evasion, was enough to whack a guy. So it's got to be something else. Got to be something else. We'll never know because people are saying, "Oh, we got to use our iPhones. We got to use all these devices. We got to believe anything that we hear in the press. We got to believe all of our politicians. They're always talking in our interest. In our interest." McAfee had a boating accident. Yeah. So. Yeah. So yeah, it's very sad that we just accept this, and then you come to me and call me the paranoid guy. I'm just warning you. I mean, this is just technical fact. Technical fact. Yeah, they're building all these mesh networks. Technical fact, and you come and say you're paranoid. Well, none of my business what you believe. Truly, I don't really care if you believe it or not. I'm just telling you what it is. They're gonna use it. Somebody said, what makes you make these claims about 1/2 mile range on Bluetooth BLE? That's the claim of Amazon Sidewalk. I don't even have to make that up. It's on their claim. They claim it. These companies already claim this kind of performance, and you're like saying, "Well, prove it, prove it." It's like, suck. Why don't you buy yourself a tile tracker or a Apple AirTag, and then tell me if it works, and then you tell me if I have to prove it. Why do I have to prove it? It's already there, for goodness sakes. And this is what I have to deal with all the time. It's like, "Oh, you're paranoid." Yeah, right. Okay, so if this is what you think is paranoid, then just wait and see. So far, everything I've said is happening. It's getting worse. Getting worse. It's happening. And everything that I've said, some of you know me for, almost 10 years now. Some of you have watched me from Periscope days. So, that's what? 9 years ago or something. And, that's on Periscope. And I've been talking about the same stuff. And every time I talk about it, from what I was saying back then, it sounds, it sounded kind of like almost impossible back in the day. And you listen to it now and it's like, people are just accept it. You just accept it. Oh, by the way, just to give you an example, because I'm not going to make a video of this, but just to give you an example of how stupid we are as people. Stupid. Okay? So, Grammarly. So, I saw an ad today. "Oh, I've been using Grammarly since high school." I've been using Grammarly since high school. Suck. Wow. So you're basically giving your thoughts to a third party since high school. A third party, a big company, now has an associated idea of what you think from high school. And anything you type with Grammarly active can see what the heck you're typing. and you're saying, "Ooh, this is so cool." It's like I don't really need to learn how to read and write properly. I don't need to know that skill. Let the computer do it for me. I can't even press buttons now. I got to use Amazon Echo and give it instructions and let the server at the main Amazon site do things for me because I can't hit a button. I can't even. I already have a portable smartphone, which was next to me. I can already press the button, but no, I gotta talk to it. I gotta talk to it. Oh, I gotta go. I gotta go run around when I'm jogging. I gotta go text by dictating so that you know Google knowingly knows what I'm saying and what I'm texting. It's like smart people. So if I were a three-letter agency and I said I want to spy on people, what's the best way to spy on people? Oh, I know. Let's make these companies. Let's make a email company with encryption. Oh, email company with encryption. Let's make an anonymous messaging app. Let's call it Anom. Let's make Grammarly. On and on and on. On and on and on. And you just, anything that did collect any amount of data, like these kinds of institutions and companies, any one of them that can create large amounts of data, they are scary as heck. Scary as heck. And we're like saying, oh, this is so cool. So cool. It's, I'm the caveman. So this is really funny because I'm the tech guy. One of the things that guide me is technology. It's like I understand how all this works. I even understand how your passwords can be captured without you knowing it. How? Simple. Fake any website. You don't even have to fake any website. You can go into any website, and if somebody says, well, we want to break in, we are the three-letter agency, we want to break in and know everybody's password, so let's put a little front end there that captures the text that you type in and store it on the side for us, but only as a backdoor. We don't want anybody else to see this, and then we'll store it at the three-letter agency side. Of course they can do that, and you'd never know because that's on the server side. This is technology, guys. You're basically assuming that the technology, everything is tight and foolproof and all that, and you're wrong. That's just one big example. Yes, passwords and all that, your password can be encrypted. Yes, but somebody can put something on the front end to capture it before encryption. Before. And that's what they want to do with pedophiles. That's why they want to intercept your encrypted messages before it gets encrypted, so they can capture whatever, and it will be at the behest supposedly of government, and of course hackers will get in there. More crazy stuff because you don't understand the technology. How hard is it for a programmer to put in a backdoor at the login to say make a copy of whatever you type in before we compare it against the hash? We'll store it in a file and send it to a three-letter agency. How hard is that? Extremely simple, obviously. Okay, so let's say you're Facebook and the government says, okay, I want you to do that. Quietly just put it into a file and send it to us. If anyone wanted to do this, they can do it. They can do it. So there's just so many avenues for this to occur, and our attitude is, oh, Apple made a promise that they're privacy, so you're going to believe it. Don't believe anything. Don't believe anything. Especially if they're big. Maybe you're going to say, don't believe me either. So yeah, okay, that's fair. If you don't want to believe me, you don't have to believe me. But, find out what side I'm on. That's fair. If you don't want to believe me, that's fine too. It may be good for you to not believe anyone. You don't have to believe me, but I do have a little consistency here. 10 years of talking about the same thing over the internet. Before I did any of this, I did not talk publicly about some of these beliefs. I did not. That I first made this appearance on social media on Periscope, and before that, I kept my thoughts to myself. And now you're benefiting from me revealing what I've always thought, and I've always seen the kind of stuff that they could do, even with medical data, even back in the day. So anyway, uh, let's go into the Q&A section because I know you have tons of questions on there. Now, before I do that, let me just talk to you about Linode. So Linode is one of my providers of cloud services. So I have many servers on Linode. Uh, Probably the biggest ISP I have where most of my servers are, and I do have a lot of them. And I have them on multiple ISPs or cloud providers, AWS and so on, and many others. And over the years, I've dealt with many players, and I've just never found a company that is just most responsive, more responsive than anyone else. And that certainly includes Amazon, and that's Linode. And not only that, they have pretty cheap prices. They're actually quite cheaper, and they're not hiding things like if you go to AWS, you sign up for a server and you think it's cheap, and then but at the end of the month you start to get a big bill, and you ask why. Oh, we didn't tell you. Of course, nobody's going to talk to you. There's no tech support. Oh, they don't tell you that they actually included bandwidth, separate charge. Pretty expensive, actually, very expensive. So on Linode, they give you quite a bit of bandwidth, free. So for that reason, you can run a website for $5 a month, and I can't imagine any other cost. So they're very reasonable. If you use linode.com/Rob Braxman, as you see here in this picture here, you will get a $100 credit, which you can apply to your bill inside of 2 months. So you can test it out. You can run those $5 servers or $100 servers, and you will like them. You really will like them. They're a very good company. I'm very enthused to have them as my sponsor. Okay, so somebody made a comment. Somebody made a comment about the Freedom Phone guy saying that the Freedom Phone is secure from Pegasus. And it's like, zuck that. If you watch my, last couple of videos, let's debunk that completely. Okay? There is a zucking backdoor in the baseband. I'm certain there's a backdoor in the baseband. Somebody even made a comment today that says, I'm a design engineer for these, communications chips, and Rob doesn't know that there's partnerships between Qualcomm and the government and all that. And it's like, apparently the guy didn't watch my video. Yes, I agree with him. Yes, they do have partnerships. I don't have any proof, so I'm going to call it a theory that there's a backdoor. My suspicion of a backdoor is extremely strong. Extremely strong. My 7-year-old and I watch you often gave him a shout out recently and lost his mind. Thank you. Did I give him a shout out? Wow, it's flowing so fast. I even missed that. Now I can't find that comment now. Oh, you didn't give your Vault Boy 7. Yeah, I didn't. Thank you. So if iCloud is turned off, can Apple still scan photos? Yes, the scanning is not going to be part of iCloud. So they're just going to send out. This is the part of the bot network. We're talking about the ability to send commands to your phone, and they can say, scan the phone for these hashed files. Scan the phone for any hash files and match, and report to headquarters. You don't even know any of this. It's being built into the operating system. One of the first schools they were doing stuff like this, really deadly, was contact tracing. Some of you are like, oh yeah, Apple is like great privacy, Apple privacy stuff, and yet they were one of the first to do contact tracing. Now, fortunately for us, no one went for contact tracing. How many of you installed the contact tracing app? How many of you used the contact tracing app? Obviously, it failed. But no, they're not going to end there. It'll be vaccine passports on your phone. Yep, vaccine. You know, it's already in California. You know, there's certain places you can't go into without showing your vaccination card. It's already happening here. And, you know, my attitude is, if you're doing that, then I am not going to partake. Whether I'm vaccinated or not is immaterial, but I'm not going to go participate in that. I'm not going to go participate in that. So the idea of whenever somebody says that, we're going to, ask for vaccination cards, and again, whether or not you're vaccinated, that's none of your business. That's none of your business. So if I were a New Yorker and they now require a vaccination card to enter a restaurant, and they might do it in Los Angeles, this wouldn't surprise me. I'm sure they'll do it in Los Angeles. My reaction will be, bye-bye, I am not going to the restaurant. And the poor people running the restaurants will be the one to suffer. The poor people are going to suffer at the restaurants because, I'm going to a restaurant and have fun. I already did not like the idea of going to a restaurant and wearing a mask for 5 steps, and then I got to take the mask off. So you walk into a small restaurant, I got to put the mask on to go from the entrance up. So I go walk it from my car to the seat, and maybe it's 5 steps away, but I got to put my mask on for 5 steps. I mean, some of this is just, boggles the mind. I'm not sure what you've actually protected with those 5 steps. So, yeah. So my attitude is, yeah, you do that, and my response is, then I'm not going to be interested in going to a restaurant. Not going to be interested. So kill their business. So, of course, this has nothing to do with being vaccinated or wanting to be vaccinated and being pro-vaccination or not pro-vaccination. I'm just talking about freedom. I don't want this big brother watching me and watching my every step. And I got to be careful, because if you say anything, anti anything here on YouTube, then YouTube will ban me. So, okay, so I'm not, this is not a statement of support or non-support for vaccination. This has nothing to do with that. It's simply the task of having to identify myself. First of all, that really would bother me, because then I have to show my identification, basically, with my name on it, to somebody that, has no reason to know that. I'm just going to eat. It's none of your business knowing what my name is and where I live and all that, and whatever my medical record number is. Why do you need to know that? So, what's the most private way to live stream? A single person Holly Troller could just use Jitsi. Jitsi is the best. Love Jitsi. Yeah, why use, garbage stuff like Zoom? Just use Jitsi. Free, it's simple, you don't need any app, just go to a browser and run it. You can use the app too, but you don't even need to do any of that. And it works on a computer or a browser. Jitsi. All you do is share the Jitsi meeting ID, and that's it. You don't need anything, it's free. So, I only use it to get into the grocery store. Air to the Ron. I'm looking to send you a few fonts to Google. Is this $130 each through Braxme? Yes, plus shipping, says $141. But if you're one of these people who sent me phones, because I got these phones here, okay, that I can't identify because the people won't respond. They're all done. I can't do anything to them because they didn't pay for them. And so, and then there's no way to communicate with them and say, hey, you haven't paid yet. So it just sits here. If these phones look like yours, then, heads up. Let's see, there's Pixel 4a, a couple of Pixel 4a's in here. No, 3 Pixel 4a's and a Pixel 4. If you sent me one of those and you haven't paid, then it's probably sitting here because you're ignoring my message or your email got rejected. So just letting you know. Try enforcing HIPAA. You mean with the vaccination card? Oh yeah, Zoc. HIPAA is BS anyway. It's always been. You'll take one. I'll take them. So, since the majority of people don't really care about privacy anymore, at what point does pursuing privacy make you more of a target and stand out? If you follow my advice, you don't stand out. You disappear. You don't stand out. Okay. My approach is browser isolation, which I talk about. It's extremely important strategy. I can't tell you how important that strategy is. It's a very ignored video. Browser isolation, one of the best things I've ever come up with, and I love it. I love it. So Google has ideas of what I believe in based on what I let it know they should believe. So I decide what Google can see about me. Of course, they have my videos, but that's not complete story. They know I'm for privacy, but beyond that, they don't know much else. So how do they? Well, I guess they know I like boating because I have a boating channel. They know I like music because I have a music channel. But other than that, yeah. By the way, go follow my boating channel and my music channel. So if that's of interest to you, you can. I'm doing the boat more as a prepping channel. So it's not the straight boating. I'm doing things at the boat to make it prepper friendly. So like solar power so it's actually it doesn't need shore power. So it can actually survive because it has solar power now. And water maker someday. It's kind of expensive. Water maker is very expensive. So I haven't done the water maker yet, but maybe when the channel gets bigger, I'll do water maker. So yeah. So the channel is also about sailing and taking trips on a boat, but yeah, the boat can cross oceans. So if I stock it with enough food, there's always food in it. If I stock with enough food and there's a water maker, then in theory you can disappear for long periods of time. So that's one of the channels. So you can follow that channel. It's in the channel opening. You're smarter than me, but you don't have the luxury to put myself out there without protecting my morals. But don't have to put myself out there without protecting my morals. Not sure what that means. Not sure what I'm supposed to do with that. DEF CON. Greetings from DEF CON. Are you on DEF CON right now? Well, greetings. I don't go to DEF CON mostly because I don't have time. I watch all the videos though. So I'm there virtually at DEF. Well, this year was virtual anyway, but I'm a yeah. DEF CON is very important. So is Jitsi safe? Yes, Jitsi is quite safe. I really like Jitsi. I really like Jitsi. So yes, use Jitsi. It's for video, very trustworthy. I'm a big believer in that. You can actually create your own Jitsi server. I actually did. I tried it, set up my own Jitsi server, which is even more private. What spy app is best for the wife's phone? I have to tell you, Many companies have been offering to sponsor my channel with spy apps, and I've said no to every single one of them. Yeah, I've said no to every spy app. So yeah, not not interested, not interested in a spy app. In my channels, like the opposite. I don't want any spy apps. Do you de-Google any 5G phones? Yes, I only de-Google. I don't know why you would want 5G. Okay, to be honest with you, but yes, I can de-Google a Pixel 4a 5G. They're kind of hard to find, but yeah, you can buy a brand new one, I guess. So 4A for 5G, I can de-Google those. Yeah, let's see. I'm wrapped in 5 layers of foil and 2 masks. What if you do not do? What if you did not do the Apple updates? Yeah, you think you can escape that? So actually, on my iPhone, I said I'm not going to update this iPhone. I'm not going to update this iPhone, and then uh, they hound you so frequently that I made a mistake. I made a mistake, and then it updated the phone. Zuck. I made a mistake. It was not intentional. It's so easy to make a mistake. So I made a mistake, so it updated the phone. And I did not want the update because 13.4 was the version that added the contact tracing, which activated Bluetooth and probably enabled the BLE, Bluetooth low energy, that allows long distance communication with Bluetooth. So I didn't want that update because I know that was kind of a deadly update, and unfortunately it's in there now. And I can't undo it because it's Apple. Yeah, I don't have any control. So yeah, so of course I don't really use it. It's not a used phone. It doesn't have a SIM card in it. What do you know about? Are they reputable? What? I have no idea. Not my field. Uh, Samsung makes you update after ignoring them for 15 times. Zuck. Thank you, Maui. Is that the same? My friend old Maui friend from before, or is that somebody else? Let's see. Why did why did McAfee go through Spain? Well, he kind of got cocky, to be honest with you. He got cocky and started to take risks, cause like, I can evade you. Goodness, how do you evade an airport? Deadly, and he was already almost caught in Spain before. He's been in Spain, several times, and he already escaped Spain once. So I don't know. That's too much risk taking. Too much risk taking. Any let's see. What about Apple Cloud? So iCloud, you know, is not encrypted, so Apple can do anything. So yeah, go use iCloud and think you have iPhone privacy. Yeah, right. It's like, you know, I don't know. People just believe what they want to believe. So if you want to believe the marketing, then I can't help you. I can't help you. The only phone that I know that doesn't have any of this is a de-Googled phone. A de-Googled phone, it doesn't belong to anyone. This doesn't belong to anyone. There's no login. I mean, that alone is very, very simple to understand, right? So some of you say, I got a de-Googled phone from you, or I'm going to get a de-Googled phone from you. And what do I need to do on the phone? Anything special? Well, you don't need to worry about anything special because the biggest thing about the phone is you never logged in. There is no Google ID on here. There's no Apple ID. There is nothing. And there's code in Android 10 and 11. There's code in the new versions of Android that prevents any app from taking the IMEI and IMSI without permission. You can no longer take it was in Android 9 you could. In Android 10 you cannot take the IMSI and the IMEI. So therefore the phone cannot reveal your identity because there's no Google to collect it. Each app can only take whatever you allow the app to take, but there's no cross contamination where a Google's collecting info about every app and then can match it to your phone device fingerprint. There is no fingerprint. This is the only safe phone I know, and I'm not the only one that uh, makes the Google phones available. There are many players that do that, and they're all okay with me. Any of them, as long as there's no gaps. AOSP with no gaps of any sort. If you want to, if you don't want to use mine because you want a Samsung, then go to eFoundation. They have Samsungs. I don't sell Samsungs. So if you want Samsung, you go to eFoundation. That's what they do, Samsungs. If you want a Pixel, I have those. Okay, so it depends on what you want. It's not, I don't want people saying that, I'm doing this just so I can make money. I'm doing this for you. If you feel like I'm trying to cheat you in some way, then say so and I'll give you your money back. I mean, goodness, this is not about me. It's about you. Because some of you just, go, stop. They watch a video, and on my video I said, introducing you to Bytes VPN, the Google phones. And then somebody immediately makes a comment. Oh, you're trying to sell me something. It's like, what does that mean? It means that the information I'm giving you is false because I'm trying to, make a living here. Obviously, this channel has to sustain itself. And no, we do not make a living from advertising. As you know, my channel doesn't really take advertising. I only have one sponsor, and that's Linode. I'm investigating a second sponsor. Maybe. I haven't decided yet, but there's a privacy-oriented company that wants to be a sponsor, for a long-run sponsor, and I'm thinking about it. I haven't even decided yet. Linode is the only one that I've made as a sponsor here. So, and the reason is, because I can independently support this channel from direct sales from the services I provide, then there's no need for me to rely on sponsors, which allows me to be untainted. I don't have to give an opinion about the product and say, oh, I can't talk badly about them because they're a sponsor. Fortunately, I don't have to say anything bad about Linode because I have nothing bad to say. And truly, there was a time I did say something bad, and then new facts emerged, and they were not at fault, and I said something good. So yeah, so it's made by Google. No, Pixels are not made by Google. Pixels are made by HTC, and the software is made by Google, but it's open source, Android open source. Is this chat a honeypot? Well, if you use your real name, it is. If you're not using a real name, then no. So there's Google Pixel 4a 5 4G. Yeah, so I'm mostly selling the Pixel 4a 4G. So, which I think is better for your safety than 5G. So, yeah. So 5G is a problem mainly because of location tracking. Normally you need GPS to track your location with a phone, but with 5G they can actually track you directly with 5G. There'll be an arrow pointing directly at your phone. They'll know exactly where you are. So for that reason, I really don't want 5G. I cannot do Google a Pixel 5 yet. Not yet. At the moment, 4A and 4A 5G, but not a 5. Do you have a favorite crypto? I don't talk about crypto here. I'm just generally saying that you should use crypto. So, and I have a video on the privacy coin PRV, privacy.org. I'm sorry. What's the name of that? The privacy coin. PRV, incognito.org. Sorry, incognito.org. So that's one I made a video on. I like that too. Um, yeah, there's Monero and all that, but this is not the channel for talking about that. This is not the channel for talking about it. I don't want to get involved with talking crypto here. Maybe I'll talk about it in a different channel on Odyssey, but not here. So I'm really screwed. I have the newest Samsung Note 5G. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I can't trust Sam. Why would trust his friend Paul? Don't understand that. Anyway, greetings from Ontario. Greetings, Lisa B. Greetings. Have you ever heard of... No. What's your thoughts on floods and food shortages? Why don't you ask people who are experts in that? That is not my expertise. Thank you, red icon person. HTC equals Google. Well, true, but they bought the designers from HTC. It's correct. Right. You're late. I just Apple has broken final straw, but darn, I love iMessage. What makes you think iMessage is secure? And some people say, oh, it has encryption. Okay, let's challenge that right now. iMessage has encryption. If iMessage has encryption, how is it possible that the iMessage on your iPhone can appear on your Mac? How is that possible? Obviously, if it's happening in the cloud and the cloud is decrypting it, therefore, someone at Apple can control the key. Therefore, to say it's encrypted is a bunch of BS. It's not verified. There's no independent verification of this. But it should be obvious when multiple devices can decrypt that it's not end-to-end. So, I mean, some of this is like common sense. So, it's really secure. They say it's end-to-end encryption. Yeah, right. Right. So, if you want to believe the fairy tales, I had a video on fairy tales. Nobody watched that. The big tech fairy tales. They just lie about you completely. They lie about everything. Oh, we're gonna implement private DNS. That's one of the lies, and so on. There's so many lies, and they can cover up anything and then turn it into a selling point so you actually think it's good. So now this pedophile thing is being packaged that, oh, this is for your protection. I don't understand. You're gonna basically spy on billions of people with the probability that there are some few pedophiles in the group. Wow. You can use that to justify anything. Oh, we're gonna, you're against, you're against Biden, so we need to know who you are. You're against China. We need to know who you are. I mean, how you can stretch this to any topic. And I already have that video that showed you how. What's the name of that? Moonshot CVE in London, that is categorizing people as, what is it? Violent right-wing extremists if they're anti-vax. That's it. That's the only classification. You must be a violent right-wing extremist if you're anti-vax. It doesn't matter what your reasoning is. Maybe it's a medical reason, but no. Can't be anti-vax. So we don't have a freedom of speech. It's like if you made a choice and you did not get vaccinated and you got sick, you made the choice. The rest of us who are vaccinated don't have to worry. So why do you have to worry about anybody else? Let everyone worry about themselves. You already vaccinated. You don't need to concern yourself. What are your thoughts on Signal? So Signal, I recommend for use with family. I do not recommend using Signal with strangers because of the contact list question. I do not recommend using Signal for strangers. If you want to deal with strangers, how about trying Session? I reviewed Session in my messaging, secured messaging apps, with end-to-end encryption, open source, and Session was one of the ones that fared very well. There's some UI issues they got to deal with. It's a little more difficult to use than let's say a Signal, but the Session has much better architecture for the long run. Much better architecture for the long run. So I'm watching Session. Session will be something that I'm sure will be highly recommended as we go along. Telegram is not open source completely, so it's not complete. It's not complete encryption. It's encryption only for two parties. If you have a group, it's not encrypted. So I don't include that. You can use it. Just be aware that, when you're using the social media side, it's obviously not encrypted. Ever thought on an interview on Snowden, if you could? You mean interview with Snowden? No, I do not like Threema. Threema has contact lists. I don't need that. Snowden is a hero as far as I'm concerned, but I don't need to do it like that. I mean, what am I going to gain from Snowden? He's a hero. He basically risked his life to pass a message to us that guys like me really, really appreciate. But he doesn't know anything different than what I know. So yeah. We're kind of different. I'm a software engineer. He's more of a system administrator. So he deals mostly with the networking side, and I deal with software. So just a little different area of expertise. I have more years of experience than he does, so I don't have to rely on him for information. He has inside information that he shared with us, but I don't know if he has new information because he's no longer on the inside. What can we do? So anyway, it's really simple. One of you asked a question earlier. Do you need to do anything special? Do you need to stand out to do privacy? And the answer is not really. I use the Google phone. You make a few sacrifices. You don't use Google. Don't come to me and say, well, I got to use AirDrop. I got to use Google Maps. I got to use, I got to be on YouTube. I mean, you obviously have to make some sacrifices on the phone. There are things that you said, okay, well, I'm going to forgo that. And that's okay. Life doesn't stop. Life doesn't stop when you dump Facebook. The only way to de-Google is to ask, if you're not a technical person, is you have somebody, you buy one that's already done for you, because it's obviously requires some technical expertise to de-Google. So we provide that service. We can de-Google certain models of phones for you, like Pixels, up to all the Pixel models up to 4A 5G. We can't do a 5. We can do any model as long as they come from the Google store. We cannot do any carrier Pixels. We do Moto G7s, Moto G7 Plus, and G7 Plays, OnePlus 6. Those are the models we commonly de-Google here. So the ones that move a lot here are the Motos, the Moto G7s, and the Pixels. Now we sell a lot of those. The most popular one is the Pixel 3. that moves in large volume. We sell a lot of Pixel 3s. Where's the best place to buy SIM cards? I went to Ting.com. So Ting.com is an MVNO or reseller of T-Mobile. So I went to Ting.com. Actually, I just called them up and I said, I need multiple SIM cards because I want to keep changing phone number. And sure, where do we send it to? Then they asked for my address. They sent it to me, and that's it. So now I have, that's how I get multiple Ting SIM cards, and then I can try it on different phones, change phone number frequently. So I can for let's say about $9 a month, I can come up with a temporary phone number and do that for apps and things that I need to, like let's say I want to set up a Google Voice, and they're asking for a phone number, and I'll give them a phone number that I'll throw away. So you can do that with the SIM card. So about $10. So and then you can dump it. You use it one month and then stop using it. So Ting is great for that, for short term use like that. 2FA sucks because they're using the phone number as the 2FA, which is a great justification to find out your phone number and track you so many different ways. So, and that's the problem. 2FA not using a phone number is great. Like if you use a secure card, like where's mine here? I don't have it here right now, but I have a video on it. So if you use one of those secure cards, USB cards that can provide security, some sites take that, and that'll be better than phone two-factor authentication. But in my case, I actually am happy to tell you that a lot of sites will accept Google Voice as my two-factor authentication. A lot of them do. So as long as they're not Google, which is actually pretty cool. So Google Voice does not have my phone number. The reason is I already threw my phone number away a long time ago. So I used the phone number once and that's been thrown away. Somebody else owns that phone number now. And then I activated notifications on a phone that does not have a SIM card, basically my iPhone. And that's my Google Voice. If I need texting from Google Voice, it goes into the iPhone without a SIM card, and I can get the Google Voice messages on there. It's not used for any other purpose. That the phone is not used. I just use it as a dedicated 2FA. That's its only purpose, 2FA. Google Voice is compromised. Of course it's compromised. I mean, that should be obvious. So don't do anything important. I don't do anything important on there. I mean, it's for people I don't know. Yeah, YubiKey. Well, I don't want to talk about somebody who's not sponsoring me right at this moment. So, yeah, but I have YubiKey. They sponsored me. They sponsored me twice. What was your hardest boat trip? Along the coast, we were maybe 40 miles from land, and very windy, like 30 knots, but with huge waves behind us, like 10-foot waves. That's pretty scary. So yeah, that can really mess you up. So, and California, here on the West Coast, normally we don't have a lot of strong winds, but that was tough. And that was a very, very long trip. That's like 24-hour trip. Oh my gosh, we created a technology nightmare. Do you have tips on how to protect yourself on your iPhone? Yeah, dump it. That's how you protect yourself. How do you protect yourself from something that has your Apple ID on it? I mean, just compare. I don't have an iPhone here, but here's Here's my the Google phone here. No ID. Never signed in. Never. Change phones all the time. Never signed in. I mean, that alone. You don't sign in. You can't watch YouTube directly on it, so you have to rely on this app called NewPipe. So, which is pre-installed. We pre-install NewPipe on here, so you can watch anything on YouTube, but you just can't you can't run YouTube directly. You can run YouTube on the browser though, and you can do anything on the browser. You can run Gmail on the browser. You can do anything on the browser. I use Google Voice too, but I don't use it for anything important. I'm not gonna have an important phone call coming from Google Voice. It's just the way it's like a company phone number. So yeah, do you still sell Wi-Fi devices or MiFi? I sell Brax routers, which is a VPN router that's Wi-Fi. But as far as MiFi, no, I have a link in my last video on the recommended MiFi, which is a Netgear M1. It's in my last video. You go watch that, and there's a link in there. Bring back payphones, secure, safe. It's like reminds me of all these apparently criminals who started to use this app called Anum, which is apparently a honeypot for catching bad guys, and was actually being run. So supposedly encrypted, but it's not. And and then if you used it, then you were caught and you went to jail. Very interesting. Thoughts on DuckDuckGo making a desktop browser? DuckDuckGo already has a mobile browser. All the browsers are just Chromium, so it's not really anything special. They're just based on Chromium. They changed the front end, they changed the appearance, but it's just basically Chromium. Chromium is the open source version of Chrome. So, meaning Chromium is Chrome before it's Googled. So, with Chromium, there's no Google stuff yet. Thoughts on Brave Search? I don't use Brave Search, so I don't have any thoughts. Are any Linux phone updates? Somebody asked me if you can use a PinePhone as a hotspot, since it protects the main phone. The main phone is not connected to the baseband. It would be safer than a normal phone. Would it be good as a hotspot? And the answer is absolutely yes. And that's my intent is to use a PinePhone as a hotspot. The problem is two problems. The current design of the PinePhone is that the hotspot modem is not very fast. It's not nearly as fast as the one in the M1. So, there's going to be a limit to the bandwidth on there. And secondly, they haven't solved the problem with the power management, so the battery does not last very long. So you have to keep it plugged in. If you're willing to do that, then I think it can be a hotspot. If you're willing to plug it in, and it will be smaller. The problem is if you have to deal with power supply, then the size of it becomes an issue. And you can get a PinePhone for cheap. They've lowered the price to $149. So yeah, they lowered the price to $149. Maybe they're coming up with a new model that's more powerful. And so that's a pretty good price. I mean, they don't have it in stock currently. I think they'll have it in stock in September. But, if only the OS makers can solve the power management issue, which they have not yet solved. If they can solve the power management issue, then, I'd buy a bunch of them just to resell. So, anyway. The PinePhone doesn't receive calls consistently on any OS. Yeah, so I'm not talking about using it for phone service. I'm talking about using it as a hotspot. So yes, the phone service, one of the problems that they have on the PinePhone and on the Librem 5 is there are Linux problems with using the microphone and the speaker. Like if you have a remote speaker and either multiple speakers on a phone, and the Linux side of it hasn't figured that out yet. So that's part of the limitations of a Pine phone. So unfortunately, it's not Pine phone. It's not Pine 64 itself. It's all the Linux side. Linux doesn't have the people power to actually spend a lot of resources on making drivers. So they're always so behind. I mean, this is like 2 years now, and they haven't really made much progress. Certain issues have just bogged down. I mean, a year later, nothing happened. A year and a half later, no, almost 2 years. By December it'll be 2 years. It's 2 years now if you really think about it, and there hasn't been much progress made. So it came to kind of a dead end. So, and the problem is that they can't solve certain issues for some unknown reason. I don't really know. I stopped following. Someone just won a case in Alberta due to the impossibility of the gene sequence to be presented. Yeah, not sure what the context of that is. Brax router without VPN plus Y trust Linode. Brax router plus You can use a Brax router with Tor. You can buy a Brax router, switch to Tor mode, and you don't need a VPN. Slow, but it's extremely secure. So if you use a Brax router as a Tor device, it gives Tor access to anyone. It's SOCKS 5, meaning all internet traffic goes through it, and it's end to end. There's no middle player. We're not involved in that. Your Brax router connects directly to the Tor relay. There's no involvement from us. So the Brax router is much more advanced than you think because of that functionality. So if you want to use that without a VPN, you can do that, and of course then you don't have to worry about trust. So yeah, if you want to use the Tor side, then you don't have to worry about trust if you're that type. But most people like speed. So obviously you want protection, but you don't want to be slowed down. You want to be able to do normal things like watch YouTube videos. So if you want to do that, then VPN is more practical. But if you want to be more secure, if I were Snowden, I'd use a Tor router. Okay? A Tor router, I'm sure he made one for himself. Tor router would be the safest thing that, somebody like Snowden would need to use. I have a Firefox phone with... By the way, Firefox, why trust Linode? You don't have to trust anyone. There's a server, and you put a password on the server, and they can't access the server. I made the operating system on there. I put my password on there. They don't have access to the password. I don't have... Why do I need to trust anyone? There's no need to trust anyone. Thank you, Kent. Can you make a SIM card router go over VPN or Tor? What is a SIM card router? Oh, no. At the moment, no. Unless it's a Pine phone. It is possible to put the VPN directly on a Pine phone because it's a Linux device. So that's possible. Basically, a more expensive way is take a Raspberry Pi and put LTE router on it, or LTE baseband modem on it, and you can do the same thing. Again, it's possible, but it can get costly. So the solution that I use now, if you need to use a VPN, is just put the VPN on the device itself. Like I have the VPN on here. Otherwise, then you use a Brax router in between. So you have your Netgear M1 hotspot, then you put the Brax router on it, like I had in the video. I showed that in the video. The only VPNs you can trust is one you run yourself. That's actually quite incorrect. That's quite incorrect. Here's the problem, Dunraven. Here's the problem. The whole point of a VPN is to hide your identity by being part of a big group. So if 1,000 people have the same IP address, then they don't know who anyone is. Okay? So by being part of a group, your DNS queries and all that become aggregated and nobody knows who anyone is. So it's impossible to get any kind of identity. Now, when you run a server by yourself, your own server, let's say you go to Linode and set up a VPN server, which you can. I think they offer it. You can set one up yourself, but everyone would know who you are. So what are you hiding? It's like, oh, you're hiding this IP address, but then we can, ask Linode and say, who owns this? And they have your credit card and say, oh. So that's not very smart. So if for privacy reasons, it's not useful. For security reasons, you may want to do that. That's a possibility. But for privacy reasons, not a good choice. I wouldn't do it like that. Right. Linode is just a service provider. I know that Linode was identified as being the host for some Pegasus servers, which are government servers, right? Government servers. So, but yeah, that means that you're actually telling us that Linode is not to be trusted because they allowed the government to have servers at Linode. Well, the biggest one is AWS, Amazon. I mean, that's true of anyone. So I don't. Why would you put the blame on Linode? They're just selling their servers. So they haven't done anything. They're not. Again, I don't have to worry about them spying on me because my servers, first of all, they're encrypted anyway. My servers are encrypted, and I put my own passwords on them. Oh, I see. Politics. Well, I don't know about their politics. But that's interesting, though, talking about politics. Somebody was asking why Firefox suddenly lost 50 million users. Firefox. And they're like saying, oh my, what did they do? Did they change their UI? Why did people dump Firefox all of a sudden at the rate of 50 million people dumping Firefox? And you go to Reddit and they talk about, because of the UI, they made a change to the UI lately, and they can't keep up with Chrome and all that. That's BS. The reason Firefox lost all those users because of politics. Because of politics. So you make a political choice, and you're gonna go, you're gonna basically upset half the population, and then they leave you. That's no big surprise there. No big surprise. But I don't do politics in this channel. This channel is not a political channel. Please do not put politics on me here. I don't like any politician. That's my politics. I do not like any politician on either side. Someday I'll tell you, I'll go into a whole tirade about the beliefs of each side been changing over the last 20 years and how they've changed, and what one used to believe on one side is now being taken as a belief on the other side, and they're so adamant about their belief, and yet the other side used to believe the same thing 20 years ago. So it's like, oh my gosh, then it's just manipulated. It's all just manipulated stuff. So yeah, so no politics for me. Which cost or expense on your boat surprises you the most? Which cost or expense on the boat surprises you the most? It's a docking boat, Chuck. Nothing surprises you. It's expensive. It's a boat. The big surprise is they changed the spelling. Boat used to be BOAT. Bring on another 1,000. BOAT. That's what a boat is. Bring on another 1,000. Everything is 1,000. Not anymore. It's actually BOATT. Bring on another 10,000. Anything breaks, it's 10,000. Sales, 10,000. Everything, 10,000. So, no spelling change. BOATT. Bring on another 10,000. So boats are expensive, unless you have a small boat. Small boats are not expensive. The bigger the boat, the more expensive it is. So I got a bigger boat, so now that's more expensive. The smaller boats are fine. You don't have to spend so much money. So anyone can get a boat. They just if you get a boat, like 22 feet, it's not expensive at all. So yeah. Is it safe to use the Chrome store on the Brave browser? Hell no. Why? That means you're putting an extension on the browser. I don't trust any extension. I don't trust any extension. DIY your water maker at 1/8 cost, 1/3 cost. I DIY everything. So I will DIY my water maker. But a good water maker that doesn't use up a lot of amps will still cost about close to 10 grand in just equipment. Just equipment, not installation. You have to install it yourself. Are dumb phones secure? If you can find one, they are more secure. In my next video, okay, so I think I'm gonna plan on doing this for my next video. I may change my mind if something happens in the news, but at the moment I'm going to expand on my past video on voice over IP. I'm going to talk to you more about what exactly voice over IP is, because the last video showed you how to use one, but I didn't really explain it too much. So I'm going to spend more time doing that. Ardennes backbone to build the Brax mesh phone. Yeah, gosh, it's so sad that the Ardennes network is if that kind of mesh just takes off, or if it took off, that'd be fantastic, because then you don't need the internet. Yeah, and the software's already there. It's called Ardennes, and I have that video showing that. What boat model do you have? It's a boat. Go watch the boating channel. Can we build a mesh network? Yeah, we could probably, if enough people use a mesh network, you can actually counteract what the big tech is doing when you need to build your own and everyone has to buy it in large volumes. Otherwise, it's not a mesh. That's why you can't do a mesh unless you have that kind of reach. Maybe if I'm famous enough, then I can establish a mesh. But you got to be like super famous. Instead of a Freedom phone, somebody should have said, let's make a mesh network. That would have been more productive. Never use a honeypot without the backdoor key. Okay, so I'm running out of time, guys. I want to just make an announcement. I am not going to do a live stream next week. So just please remember that. There will not be a live stream next week. That'll just be one weekend off, 1 week off. There will be a video, but there will not be a live stream next Friday. Okay? There will not be a live stream next Friday. There will be a live stream after that, just not next Friday. So just pass that around. If you guys are looking for me, I will not be around next Friday. What do your Google phones work? Do your Google phones work for Australia? I have shipped many phones to Australia. Many, many, many. What about FCC test next week? Let's talk about EF. Talk about people being chipped Uh-huh. You're already carrying a chip. That's a pretty crazy thought to even say, we're being chipped with vaccines with nanoparticles, and you're carrying the chip. You're looking for like ways to create a environment where they can chip you. They already chipped you. You're carrying it. Get a de-Googled phone to be unchipped. So if you're thinking about if chipping worries you, then why are you not carrying a de-Googled phone? By the way, I'm in very short supply of de-Googled phones. So the inventory is like drying up here. So I was told it's because when new models arrived and the supply is limited. So I have a limited stock. They're stocked right now, but you know, go jump on what you can get uh, if you're looking for one now because they're running low. Okay. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video which I release on Thursday and Wednesday on Odyssey. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.